up on our love week. What is it that causes more fights than anything else in marriage? Must be the money.
Our next guest literally wrote the book on how to decorate your home on a shoestring or how to vacation without maxing out the credit cards.
That's right. We want to welcome the author of The New Bride Guide, Ellie K. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks. It's great to be here.
Now, this book is a little bit different from our first author's book in that this is real practical advice not only on the wedding, the reception, but also on the first year of marriage, and some real practical advice on money is a big thing.
Well, and it is a big thing. I mean, most divorces cite arguments over finances as the reason that they divorce. So if that can be nailed down at the very beginning of the marriage, then they have an advantage.
Yeah, I bet my wife we wouldn't end up in a divorce over money.
Brian. Let's talk about the wedding. You know, a lot of people, or a lot of women, I think, want a big blowout wedding, and it's going to, you know, put them in financial straits for several years, and the man maybe doesn't want to spend that much money. How do you settle that argument?
Well, that is the very first thing that you have to look at when you're planning a wedding. And also, another thing is that you need to find out who's going to contribute to that wedding and get that settled right at the beginning, so that halfway through you don't realize that the father of the bride is no longer going to pay for even half of the wedding, and then they're saddled with all the debt that goes along with that. So that's one of the very first steps that you have to take.
Is that what we should reasonably expect, is that the dad of the gal should pay for the wedding? Is that still the norm in the United States?
Well, of course, that's the tradition, but that's not necessarily the norm any longer. A lot of couplers are getting married a little bit older, and they have incomes, they have careers that are going. They want something a little bit different, so they go ahead and fund the wedding themselves. But that is something that can be established right at the beginning. And as a matter of fact, you know, one father of the bride said that he would pay $5,000 for the wedding, and anything that came in under that they could keep. So that's one technique as well.
I like that idea.
I like that. All right, so after the wedding, now what? You're home, and one of your chapters is, if you really loved me, you could read my mind.
Well, you know, that is one of the things that they have to deal with when it comes to male-female differences. And if a bride knows that what these differences are, then she can realize that when her husband says, well, I wasn't really thinking of anything, when she asked him what he was thinking of, that is true. I mean, men have these little boxes, and one of those boxes has nothing in it.
Isn't that true?
You know,
that
it's
is
amazing.
So true.
And then
women are not like that. You know, we're never thinking of nothing. What are you doing? Nothing. What are you thinking about? Who did you, when they call their friends, what did you talk about? Nothing. It's true.
Maybe that's why you drive yourselves crazy. Try nothing. Nothing works. What are you doing?
It's important to recognize the differences between men and women, right? It's kind of like the men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Well, and it is. And, you know, when a wife sometimes says, I think I'd like new curtains, you know, what she really may mean is, I think I'd like to redecorate the entire room. But when a guy says something like, I'm hungry, he usually means, I'm hungry. And it's amazing how that works. But
simple creatures, aren't they?
They are very simple. And one of the other things that you need to know about men, if you haven't figured it out already, is sometimes when they say, I'd like to go to dinner, what they really mean is and I would like to eventually have sex with you. So, I mean, that is something that exists. So, you know, when your husband invites you for dinner tonight, you'll know what he really means.
That's hooey. I mean, that happens in college, like, you know, like when you got to spend money, but at home, I don't know. You know.
Go ahead, Brian.
I'm not married.
Yes, he is.
Happily married.
And with a child. Okay, give me some more practical advice on finances, since that is such a big topic.
All right, do you consolidate the money right away? Do you keep separate checking accounts? What do you do right off after the honeymoon?
Well, that is something that needs to be established, and it's going to vary from couple to couple according to what they feel comfortable with. But the important thing is that you get on a household budget, because the average American family has about $8,000 in debt, and it's really especially easy for newlyweds to start accumulating this debt. They want to redecorate the house, they want the latest in electronics, you know, they're setting up their own nest together, and they feel like they have to have everything right away, and you really don't. So it's very important that you set up a household budget.
All right, let's say that the woman of the house makes more dough than the man of the house. Does she get to spend more dough, or is it all just everybody happy, equal, budget?
Well, that is something that you're going to find your own comfort level with. It seems to be easier if you go ahead and consolidate, because when you start saying his and mine and you keep them separate, unless there's a separate business involved, and of course then you need to have a separate account. But if you can combine them together, it's going to help alleviate a lot of future arguments.
Works really well with mine. We consolidate. My husband makes more, I spend more. Works perfect.
See, that's balance.
What about those secret bank accounts that men have? Do you think that those are beneficial to relationships, or every guy at home's going, "What are you doing here, dude? You're killing me."
Well, I couldn't recommend that. You know, I think that you probably ought to do without that.
Oh, okay.
I think that's very good advice.
Somebody called BOA.
All right, Ellie Kay, and you've got big news coming up on Thursday. Tell us what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to be on World News Tonight with Peter Jennings at the Town Hall meeting in Albuquerque.
That's
and that's
great.
on a different book that you've written.
Yes, it's on a book called Heroes at Home, Hope and Help for American Military Families. I'm going to be the military family expert because my husband's in the Air Force.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here. The New Bride Guide is the one she's talking about here today.
That's
the other
right.
one is Heroes
by Ellie Kay, and you can get this at all major bookstores.
You certainly can.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you again. Up next, values for Valentine's.
Because it's
Get
all
it out
about
of your
the
secret
love.
bank account.
It's
There it
about the
is.
love.
When we return.